Go. What's up, man?
Not a damn
What's
thing.
happening, everybody? Not a damn thing. How's Philly treating you?
Say again?
How's Philly treating you?
Just peachy.
Yeah, I bet. Anyway, guys, got to talk. Lots to talk about. UFC 156 was last night.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not going to say it was like the top card of the year, but it's not as bad as everyone on Twitter was saying it is. Like, the card was not that bad.
Said, people were saying it was bad?
Yeah, people on Twitter, one dude sat there and tweeted us and said, I should have slept instead of watching that. I'm like, are you serious? I was like, the Ian McCall fight, which we're going to talk about first, nonstop action. The only fight I had a problem with was the Evans fight, and we'll get to that. But other than that, I didn't have a problem with any other card or fight on the main card.
Yeah, I thought the fights were actually good, man. I know for the Brazilian community, the fights were real fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to start out with the flyweight bout that was between Joseph Benavidez and Ian Uncle Creepy McCall. You know, it was a close fight. It was evenly matched. I think it was pretty much what most people expected. I mean, it wasn't any fireworks.
But here's the issue. Both these guys have lost to the current champ. The other guy, Dotson, just lost to the current champ. My question is, as long as Mighty Mouse continues to make weight, who's going to beat him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any formidable opponent out there right now in the flyweight division.
I mean, because there's arguably your top 4 guys, and not one of them can beat the champ. I mean, some have come close. I mean, they've had splits, but...
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you can possibly see in a flyweight division right now are good possible match. I'd like to see John Dotson fight Benavidez. They're very similar. Some of their techniques similar. They're very similar in stature. They're both powerful. I think that could be exciting. You might see a knockout in that in that class for once.
And like I said, I'm really starting to like the little guys because, dude, they're so fast. Like 155, 145, 135. I'm enjoying all the fights they've been putting on lately.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fucking energy. They're not slugs. They're in great condition, and you see 3 or 5 rounds of good fighting.
Right.
Now, moving on to a welterweight fight that we saw Demian Maia obviously making his 3rd appearance as a welterweight going up against Jon Fitch. And I'm going to tell you what, I knew this was going to be like this. And it was a boring fight. And it can be, any of you guys out there will be like, oh, you're not, I don't give a fuck what you think. I hate fights like that. Oh, see, I fucking hate them.
See, I like that fight because to me that shows you there's more to MMA than just standing and slugging. To me that was no different than watching a guy stand on his feet and dominate with his hands. He just dominated in, as some would say, and I can understand, a boring fashion. But to me it was awesome to see Demian Maia in the first round run across the ring, shoot in, take Jon Fitch's back while standing, and constantly work for submissions. And I understand. Right. I totally understand where a lot of people are turned off by that. But to me, that was just great to see. It was great to see a guy with obviously the best jiu-jitsu defense in all of the UFC going against one of the top, if not the best, jiu-jitsu practitioner. And it was like a chess match. No one's going to go watch chess on TV. And to me, that's like a chess match.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah, I'll give you that. And you know what? It did show Demian Maia is highly skilled. And at 170, he is really fucking strong for those guys. I mean, because he pretty much manhandled Jon Fitch.
And he also did it with wrestling. He also showed his wrestling ability. I mean, he shot in on Jon. Now, I mean, I don't think he can beat GSP, but I mean, if he gets a hold of GSP,
he has the tools to.
If he gets a hold of GSP, what's he going to do?
Right. Well, this is the thing I think that separates GSP from Jon Fitch, and why I thought the fight was boring is because, okay, it doesn't take anything necessarily away from Demian Maia, but once you're in Jon Fitch's corner, you see that nothing is fucking happening by what you're doing, you would think that Fitch has got to start using his hands. You know, that's the only way you're going to beat this guy. This guy's overpowering you. He's manhandling you. So you think, okay, I better start striking. And
in the 3rd round, you saw Fitch try to get away and set up for a strike, and Maia gave him no time. Maia did not give him any time to get his hands off, because anytime there was separation between the two of them, Maia closed the distance, either pushed him up against the cage, or Fitch didn't know what to do. Fitch has not been in that situation before, because normally it's Fitch who's smothering the shit out of someone.
Fitch, it's usually the roles are reversed with Fitch, and it caught him off guard.
Right, and Fitch couldn't get away from him. He was just too strong. His strength dominated him.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting if they ever do meet GSP and Demian Maia. I think GSP obviously is a much more talented striker. He is much quicker, has a better engine, and it would obviously be a 5-round fight.
Right.
So you would see there's a lot of things that would be different. But anyway, let's move on to the heavyweight bout, which was one of the biggest things everybody was anticipating. That was the return of Alistair Overeem. And I'm going to tell you what, right off the bat, I saw at weigh-ins, and I'm like, this guy's physique looks completely different.
So that was going to be my first question. What do you think of his physique? Because we saw two Black Zillions who are two of their bigger guys in their stable, and they both came in noticeably smaller.
Yep, noticeably smaller, man. I mean, Alistair Overeem, there's a couple things that I took from this fight last night. One, and I'm going to say this, if his physique, when you're jacked up, and this fight was in Las Vegas, so you know it's only 6-1. You can't get away with taking as much gear if the fight's going to be in Las Vegas, and it was. One, Alistair Overeem's physique looked different. It looked softer. He didn't look as big and hard and muscular as he usually does. Still a big guy, but not usually what he does. Didn't look as aggressive. He looked cocky, but he didn't look aggressive. Keeping your hands down and toying around with Bigfoot, that's being cocky, but that's not being aggressive because he wasn't on the attack that much. The other thing, and I'll say this to some people, a guy made a comment when I said, Alistair, we were talking about striking last week, George. Remember I said,
yes.
We said Alistair Overeem striking. I said, yeah, but I don't think his hands are as good as Daniel Cormier's and Cain Velasquez. That's exactly what I fucking meant by I don't think his hands are as good. His hands aren't as good. Striking and boxing are two different things. You know what I mean? Striking is everything combined. Your elbows, your punches, your knees, your kicks. Alistair Overeem is great at that, but just straight up hands, you saw what Bigfoot did when he got him in the inside. He fucking outboxed him. He fucking got up inside of fucking Alistair Overeem and fucking boxed his ass. Put together combinations and put like 8 to 9,
I'm going to go on record right now and say that could possibly be the upset of this entire calendar year in MMA. Because I didn't see that coming. I think the only person who believed he could win that fight was Bigfoot and his training partners. And I'll tell you what, it was a big night for the Nogueiras brothers in their gym because 2 of them won. I thought he was very impressive. Because it was interesting. After the first round, Bigfoot goes back to his corner and his corner goes, yep, that's exactly what we thought was going to happen in the first round. You weathered it. He's like, now it's time to turn it on. And he just didn't go away. And he beat Alistair Overeem at his own game, which I didn't think I thought he'd have to take Overeem down to win the fight.
When people go, a lot of people, I think, with his athletic ability and his size and how he overpowered people. But when I look back, I still was kind of sketchy about Alistair Overeem. And the reason was because, he hadn't had a lot of fights in the UFC.
No.
And you know what? I didn't think when he fought Fabricio Verdum, he was super impressive. I didn't think he was. I mean, he was strong.
The weird thing about that fight is Fabricio Verdum kept trying to pull guard, and Verdum's got decent stand up. So all of us were trying to figure out why, and obviously Verdum knew why because Overeem's in there, fucking juiced out of his mind, and he's like, "I'm not going to let this motherfucker hit me."
Right.
And I don't blame him. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Right.
Bigfoot knew that, and you know what? After that fight, I'm impressed with Bigfoot. I hope he does well. I don't know how well he'll do against JDS or Kane or the top guys. But I throw him in there. Shit, why not?
What do you think this makes people like the validity of the 2 guys that fight out of the same camp, the hands of like Cain Velasquez and then Daniel Cormier? I mean, you're looking at Cormier who straight dropped Bigfoot. I mean, see, this is when people say, "Oh, he's short and stuff." I'm like, let me tell you something, man. Cain Velasquez isn't fucking 7'2". These guys are both not the tallest heavyweights in stature, but let me tell you something. You saw what Velasquez did to JDS. You saw what Cormier did to Bigfoot. They're skilled at what they do. You know what I mean? And people have to realize that, when you got these guys that are both top of the line wrestlers and they have really, really good fucking hands, they could be at the top of that weight class for a while.
What would have happened if you had any other ref in there besides Herbals to try to hold Bigfoot back? Because he looked like he was getting ready to go in and hit Overeem again.
Yeah, he was, because I think he was aggravated because he felt like Overeem was disrespecting him, and even during the course of the fight, you saw that, and he felt like, you know what, I believe in myself. I'm gonna shut this guy's mouth, and you know what, you got to give it to Antonio Bigfoot Silva. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and Overeem did the exact opposite.
Now on to the other Black Zillion of the night who faced Lil Nog and looked. I don't know what the game plan was for Rashad Evans. I don't know what that was. That to me was not. I mean, it was embarrassing. I mean, it did not look like the Rashad Evans we've seen. I was not impressed. In fact, I felt bad for him because that was a horrible fight. Now, if this is his way to try to parlay his way into a 185 title fight, I mean, yeah, I understand the UFC today. All you got to do is ask for it, and it seems like you get it. But to me, after that performance, he doesn't deserve a title fight at any weight.
You know, he's going to have to, if he makes, at this point in time, I think the light heavyweight class is starting to fill up with some pretty decent people. You know, I mean, you're seeing it with all the classes. I think Evans probably has to make his way down the middle and have a couple fights to try to get a shot, you know, and maybe he probably wants to get a shot once Anderson Silva retires.
No,
and maybe
he can't afford to have a couple fights at 185. He needs to go, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's some boys at 185 who I think could fucking hand him his ass.
Yeah, I mean, the thing
if he's going to come out and fight like he did last night, he needs to just go get his one title fight, get his payday, get fucking, because let me tell you right now, that pawn shit he was doing last night, Anderson Silva will fuck him up.
He will. He'll counter it and he'll put him to sleep. You know, Evans is having problems with these light heavies that are big in stature. I mean, you saw with John Jones, you saw with Lil Nog, and ones that have good striking ability. You saw him get dropped by fucking Lyoto Machida, who's pretty tall and got great striking. Rashad Evans seems to be the blueprint for him. Well, somebody who's tall, big in stature, who he can't physically handle, that has good hands or striking ability, gives him fits.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, Lil Nog won that on significant strikes. He might not have thrown as many or has landed as many, but when his hit, you knew it. When Evans did nothing in that fight that was memorable except for that shit. And you know what? Joe Rogan is getting awfully vocal as of late. He sat there and said that pity pat shit they're doing, and then he got on the refs. He's like, "This is Vegas. The refs suck." I'm just like, wow, somebody's coming off their leash.
I know. I was freaking out that he said the refs suck in Vegas. That was fun. But you know what? I gotta agree with him. They do suck a lot of times in Vegas. So,
now,
you know, hats off to you, Joe. Now, the fight that I had been waiting to see.
Yep.
The championship bout, featherweight bout between Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar.
And look, I sent Kevin a text message last night during this, and I said, you know what? I'm getting good at this because I called this fight, and I said exactly what was going to happen, and it's exactly what happened.
It did. You know, you saw the first 2 rounds, you know, Aldo dominating, hitting him with those leg kicks, establishing his range, and doing everything he's done to defeat people in the past, and applying that to Frankie Edgar. But then all of a sudden, Frankie Edgar, who has got a fucking engine from hell, started turning on in the 3rd round. And you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know where to call it the 3rd round. I had Jose Aldo, even though I want to see Edgar win the fight, edging him out in the 3rd round. But then the 4th and 5th round, I definitely had Frankie Edgar.
Your boy is like Seabiscuit. He gets throttled in the beginning of the fight and then comes back at the end and tries to just almost I think if that goes 6 rounds, Frankie's going to beat him. And I found it very telling that Aldo at the end of the fight, they said, "Why'd you stop throwing leg kicks?" He's like, "Because I was afraid to get taken down." Well, he didn't really. Every time he took you down, you pop right back up. And to me, like, though I'm telling you right now, Frankie Edgar is not out jogging today. But I mean, that leg is hurting. You could see after the first 2 kicks in round 1, you could see it was already starting to red. It was already starting to black and blue, and that just lets you know how hard those things come in.
Oh, they're fucking vicious. And the one that just kicked him, knocked him on his ass.
Yeah.
I mean, just knocked him down where he had to put his hand down to, like, get his balance. I mean, you're like, wow, man, this motherfucker generates a lot of fucking force with these leg kicks, you know?
But the one that I loved was when Frankie goes in for a single, and as he does it, he smacks Aldo in the face. I was like, shit. And I think that caught Aldo off guard. And I'm going to tell you what, if Aldo is struggling to make weight, and it sounds like he is, he needs to go up to 155.
Yeah,
because I don't think he'd have any problem at 155, with the exception of the guy who holds the belt, and that would be a phenomenal fight to see.
That would be a good fight because you got 2 guys that are athletic. They do very similar things. They both get in and out. How did you think the fight? How many rounds did you know? And this goes back to what Rogan said. I had the fight 48-47. But there were 2 judges that had Edgar only winning 1 round, and they had it 49-46.
Yeah, I definitely had Edgar with the last 2 and Aldo with the first 2. It's that 3rd round, depending on when you watch that 3rd round, who you would give it to. Yeah. And again, it really, there was a moment in a previous fight that I'm looking and I'm thinking, okay, It's a 5-minute round. The guy got one takedown, and I'm wondering to myself, how many did that one takedown in that round win him the round or not? And I'm really confused as to how these things are scored, because to me,
it is.
If you shoot in for a takedown and don't sink it and don't land it, then you don't get points for attempting a takedown. Because does that mean you get points for attempting a jab that doesn't land?
And I think a lot of these fights are scored. I mean, you know, obviously they're scored by significant strikes. Like Jose Aldo in the 3rd round probably didn't have as many strikes as Frankie Edgar, but you saw that the ones that he was nailing Frankie Edgar were doing a lot more damage. And then you saw what Frankie Edgar looked like.
And when Kevin says significant strikes, it's those times in the match when it sounds like something just got hit with a baseball bat, or you look up and go,
pop,
"Oh
pug.
shit!" Because you know, like, you get snapped with a jab and your head snaps back. Not one of these ones where you get hit with a jab and the guy's head doesn't move. It's that jab or that punch that makes your head go back or you lose balance. That, to me, that's a significant strike. And if one fighter has more oh shit moments in a round than the other one, I'm leaning toward that guy.
Yeah, I'm right with you on that. Well, anyway, real quick, George and I are going to do this little thing where it is brought to you guys by MMA Insider, and we're going to talk where I'm going to basically say who was my performer of the night, and then you'll tell me who your performer of the night was. And my performer of the night, I'm going to have to go with Antonio Bigfoot Silva, because I think in most cases, most people did not think he would go out and do what he did. And it wasn't just the fact that he defeated Alistair Overeem, but he did it at Alistair Overeem's own game, and he looked great. He just looked like a technician, and I had not seen that out of. Actually, I shouldn't say that, because his last fight he looked good too when he put to sleep I guess Travis Brownie. So he's been very impressive as of late.
And my performer of the night would have to go to Demian Maia. And for everyone who sat there and booed that fight, you're the same drunk rednecks who go to NASCAR and just wait for a wreck. Like, if you don't know enough about MMA to realize what was going on for that 15 minutes, then you either need to A, read a book, or B, go follow another sport. That fight did not deserve booing. It just didn't. And I totally understand why some people would see it's boring. But again, I call that a chess match, and no one's tuning in on TV to watch a chess match. I get it. But to me, Demian Maia went out and just absolutely dominated a fight with his jiu-jitsu. And to me, that's my performer of the night.
You got a good point. Like I said, the fight was boring. I think I was more frustrated for Jon Fitch. When we were watching, I was like, dude, just try to strike. And I guess it's frustrating when you can't, when the guy, and that's a good point. Demian Maia just did not allow it. Whereas I was looking at like, John, you're not doing enough. Whereas you're looking at like, what, Demian Maia is just not allowing him to do. So you had a better perspective on it, Anyway, guys, we're fucking out of here. We'll catch you next time on the Uncut Sports Show. Deuces.